Hey everybody, let's kind of get into it. Brady Love season 4, episode 3. It's pretty interesting. We saw some of these connections kind of unfold into some interesting developments. So let's check it out. So first off, I'm gonna start with Tashia because she kind of started off the episode hot and ready, which I'm not mad at her. Like, so she was feeling a little salty last week because she's like, I'm in the bottom two, but everybody's kind of like engaging with me, like they feeling me. So what's up? So when she got there and there was a few guys there, she was like, hey, what's going on? Um, Give me some feedback here, because usually, as we see it now, as for the episodes, like when someone is close to being voted off, they give them feedback. So she was looking for that, and I really give her kudos for that and being brave, and I just feel it's some salty, and not asking like, hey, what's up? Give me some feedback. Let me know what's happening. Are y'all feeling me? Or are y'all not? Because you got to be brave enough to receive that answer. But none of them gave her straight answers though. But she reached for it, so that was kudos to her. So your boy Corey back at it again. He has some redeemable moments here, but still seems so young. He seems so young to be 40 years old, I have to say. He has some struggle moments with Sabrina. So Corey remember, he's the gym owner. He's 40 years old, and he's trying to redeem himself off of this, kind of exposure. Like, the girls exposed him, the women have exposed him to be this person who's just like saying the same thing to everybody. And so it seems like that's his fallback because he really, really struggles in the area of conversation. Even on his date with Mumin, after he changed her tire, got the phone number, set the date, where he said, like, dates are where I excel. I set the tone. I have this is where I'm winning. He wasn't winning. In their conversation, it was awkward. That whole what is she? That whole let's picture us riding on a horse, and like we in Django. It was just no. So I'm gonna go back to Sabrina though. So him and his Sabrina were talking, and he said, I saw you in the dress, and I was like, and he said, yeah, like, just like, I want to have that. Like, he was, and I'm like, oh, his conversation, either he's trying to come off in a certain way, but it's also just, again, odd. So when they were about to, when Tashia and him had the dinner at the end, you know, the embrace, and he had his hand right above her behind, and she's like, you don't have permission to do that. He moved his hands, but he's just still very, so he's still very, like, I don't know what his motives are. I do not know what his motives are. Everybody was talking about love languages this episode, which, hey, I think this is a great time to talk about love languages, but it also seemed like part of me was like, did production tell you guys to talk about love languages? Because, I mean, it was a lot. But then when Corey mentioned it, it seemed like he was trying to use it as a way to justify him touching her more, which, if you don't, yes, your love language can be touch, but that doesn't mean that you have permission to touch me, as we are still getting to know each other. And this is a part of me exerting my personal boundaries and what have you. And he did say, if I had permission, but at the same time, it just, that's the kind of spirit in which I felt him saying that at that moment. So Corey is still a little, we're still working with you. We're gonna pray. Okay. So I'm gonna Tyrone. I would say he was definitely like a bright star this episode. So he definitely, he said he's a nerd. He works in cybersecurity. And he comes off pretty awkward, right? In his communications, like, it was one conversation he had, I think at the mixer. It was Zadia, I think that's how you say her name. Like he's like, well, your mom, you know, if you brought me to meet your mother, would she like me? And I was just, it's hard to tell because that scene was definitely highly edited, but it just seemed kind of an awkward moment, and maybe they did that on purpose. But he was owning it and pushing through it. Like, he wasn't letting his awkwardness like stop him. He was engaging with all the young ladies. And he had a really, really great date, a vulnerable date with Zendaya. I think that's how you say her name. Sorry, I hate mispronouncing people's names. But they had a really great connection. He talked about his PTSD and how he's working through it, and how, her profession, kind of mirrors that. And so that was a really great moment. And then because he was so vulnerable, and me and my vulnerability from our last episode, how I feel about it, I really think that's truly how we connect. And it seems like to be a missing puzzle piece for Corey, for sure. He struggles in the area of vulnerability. He's very, very focused on making people laugh, and I love laughter. I'm all about it. And at the same time, we need some depth here. I need to get to know you if we're going to make a real connection. And so I really feel like that is kind of how at the end of the episode, when the women were, having their senses, that, a lot of women connected with Tyrone because he met them with vulnerability. So I'm telling you, brothers, like, that's how it goes. All right. Camille. So Camille had Camille had a date with her and Walter, and with Cornelius and Courtney. Okay. And so here, Camille's motives had me wondering about her, okay? Because she said that she just really wanted to have a double date with Courtney and Cornelius to watch them and to check her or both of them when they were touching each other too much. And again, this is this control thing. Listen, I understand as a therapist, what we do when we're trying to control, we're trying to protect ourselves, okay? And so I know that's her motives, and that's it's no harm, like in it. And at the same time, it's not giving her Walter's left in this situation feeling like you don't even want me here or need me here because you're really focused on them. So why am I even here? I'm like, is she really interested in Walter? Like, I don't know. It was just very strange. Very, very strange. So opposite group date, the group date with Dante, Shiloh, Naeem, Sadia, again, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, and Tashia. They kind of all had like a nice like conversation and group date. At first I was wondering how this was going to be with three girls and two guys, but it kind of worked. They were able to, flirt with each other and not become territorial or controlling. So it was a nice flow. And they were still able to get to know each other in that space. So I was hoping for that to happen, but with Camille already vocalizing her motives, it did not go that way. And Walter was kind of left like, oh, I'll just sit over here and eat my food because obviously you're not interested in me. So Camille, we have work to do. So the last date I think they showed, or the last date, that I'm going to talk about, I'll say, is Carrington and Aisha. So another moment of like vulnerability and versus, I don't know what Carrington was trying to bring. So they seem to have, attraction to each other, and Carrington seems to be very, very focused on like, looks, and he mentions it like even when he was getting ready for his date, when he was gonna be asked to leave the show, he was just like, I came ready, dressed, and he's like, look at Aisha, she's polished. So he's like very, very, you know, he's very focused on presentation. And it seems like he just doesn't have anything underneath it. Like there's I won't say anything underneath it. Maybe he just doesn't know how to access that part of himself. Maybe he hasn't spent that much time with himself, and his like to know who he really is and to know how to connect with women on a deeper level. He said he's never had a girlfriend before. At 33, never having one girlfriend. I don't know. That's like, it's not. It seems kind of odd to not have one girlfriend at 33. So he's like, I've never cheated on anyone because I've never had a girlfriend. And so while that's like admirable because, you know, you're upfront and saying, hey, we're just meeting up, we're just dating, we're just having casual sex, whatever it may be, and having those standards like communicated where he's not being dishonest. At the same time, it seems like he truly does struggle though to connect in this situation. And even with the other young ladies, just asking questions instead of saying like, hey, this is who I am. Like I do this. Like Aisha met him, you know, she met him, with vulnerability. She said, hey, I was divorced. I got myself together. I got my children together. I made sure we went to therapy, you know, because I didn't want to bring stuff from my last relationship to another relationship. And my children are, you know, a big part of my life and making sure they're okay mentally. And so like she gave of herself, and you know, Carrington really struggled to meet anyone at that level, which is why he was eliminated. So I hope that Carrington is able to see himself, you know, from a clear view from watching this show. He is still, you know, pretty young, so we'll see. Well, we won't see actually, unless we watch the reunion show. We'll see how it goes. But other than that, things are going well. Courtney and Cornelius are still connecting. Courtney is very, very assertive, and Cornelius just seems to be, you know, a kind of laid back, and conservative guy. And so I see that being interesting. It's going to be interesting how that plays out. Whether he's going to kind of maneuver Courtney's assertiveness, and speak up for himself, or whether he's going to maybe find someone that's more of his match and more of his speed. We shall see. That is all I have for this week. But stay tuned for Ready to Love Season 4, Episode 4 next week. Take care. Peace.